Her dress was torn in the struggle. One human defended the alien girl's honor. The encounter, the Horizon spaceport hummed with the chaotic symphony of 1,000 species conducting commerce beneath the shadow of massive starships. Amidst the crush of bodies and babble of languages, Lyra Thalestris moved with deliberate grace, her shimmering violet skin catching prismatic light from the overhead illumination panels. Her long fingers, each adorned with intricate silver rings, clutched the crystalline pendant hanging from her neck, a nervous habit when navigating unfamiliar territory. As a Celestian trade emissary, Lyra had visited dozens of ports across 3 systems, but Horizon's reputation for lawlessness made her unusually cautious. The pendant, a spiraling crystal formation suspended in a lattice of ancient metal, was more than ornamental. It represented 15 generations of her family's commitment to interstellar diplomacy, containing within its structure the encoded history of Celestian trade relations. First time at Horizon, violet skin, the voice came from a Cretan merchant whose multiple eyes blinked in rapid succession. Pretty things like you should have an escort. Lyra straightened her posture, the delicate folds of her ceremonial attire, a flowing garment of luminescent fabric that shifted from deep blue to twilight purple, rustling with the movement. I require no assistance, she replied, her accent giving the words a musical quality. The Guild of Celestian Emissaries is well respected across the Concordance. The merchant's dismissive chuckle followed her as she navigated deeper into the commercial quarter, where stalls and shops competed for attention with holographic advertisements and aromatic food vendors. Lyra allowed herself a small sigh of relief when she spotted the diplomatic exchange building, her destination, rising above the marketplace like a silver needle. Commander Novan Reyes hadn't planned to spend his shore leave breaking up fights. After 3 years commanding a patrol vessel along the Concordance border, he'd imagined his time at Horizon would involve quiet drinks and uninterrupted sleep. Yet something about the commotion near the exchange building drew his attention like a tractor beam. 3 men, humans to his disappointment, had cornered someone against a wall. Their postures spoke of intoxication and malice in equal measure. Novan's military-honed instincts activated before conscious thought, his tall frame already moving toward the confrontation, expression hardening beneath his close-cropped dark hair. It's just a little inspection, one of the men slurred, reaching for the pendant around Lyra's neck. Bet that trinket's worth enough to buy half this station. This is a sacred family artifact, Lyra responded, her melodic voice tight with restraint. Please step aside and allow me passage. The largest of the men grabbed her arm, his fingers digging into her violet skin. Don't be unfriendly now. We're just curious about alien treasures. What happened next occurred with such speed that onlookers would later disagree about the sequence. Lyra twisted away, the man's grip tightened, and the delicate fabric of her ceremonial attire tore with a sound like distant thunder. The garment split from shoulder to waist, exposing more of her violet skin to the jeering crowd. Golden eyes wide with shock, Lyra's composure finally cracked as she pulled the fabric together with trembling hands. Enough. The word cut through the market noise like a blade. Novan stood at the edge of the gathering crowd, his military bearing unmistakable despite his civilian clothes. Step away from her, now. The men turned, amusement turning to scorn. Mind your business, soldier boy. We're just having a conversation with our new alien friend. Novan's expression didn't change as he closed the distance between them. That didn't look like a conversation to me. His voice remained calm, controlled, the voice of someone who'd faced down pirates and border raiders without flinching. And she doesn't look like your friend. The first punch came predictably from the largest man, a wild, drunken swing that Novan sidestepped with practiced ease. What followed was not a brawl but a demonstration of efficient combat training. 2 precise strikes, a swept leg, and suddenly all 3 assailants were groaning on the ground. When the brief violence ended, Novan turned to find Lyra staring at him, her golden eyes holding a complex mixture of gratitude, wariness, and something unidentifiable. She clutched her torn garment with dignity despite her situation. Without a word, Novan shrugged out of his jacket and held it out to her. Not approaching, not imposing, simply offering. You have my gratitude, Lyra said softly as she accepted the jacket, wrapping it around her shoulders. I am Lyra Thalestris of the Celestian Guild. Novan Reyes, he replied with a slight bow, respecting her formal introduction. and no gratitude is necessary. Some humans need reminding about honor. He glanced at the retreating forms of the troublemakers before meeting her gaze again. May I escort you to your destination, Emissary Thalestris? Horizon can be challenging for visitors. A small smile, the first he'd seen from her, transformed her face. I would welcome your company, Commander Reyes. Around them, the market resumed its bustle. But for that moment, they existed in a pocket of quiet understanding. Two beings from different worlds finding unexpected connection in the chaos of the spaceport. Aftermath and Sanctuary, the eastern quarter of Horizon Spaceport stood in stark contrast to the chaotic marketplace. Here, artificial gardens and climate-controlled habitation domes created an illusion of tranquility. Water features burbled softly beneath hovering light sculptures, while the distant rumble of departing starships faded to a gentle vibration. Novan guided Lyra through a series of interconnected terraces to a small cafe nestled against a viewport overlooking the docking bays. The establishment, named Stellar, respite according to its holographic sign, catered to a diverse clientele seeking refuge from the station's more boisterous quarters. The proprietor is a former navigator who served under my command, Novan explained as they entered. Esme values privacy and makes the best Terran coffee outside Earth's atmosphere. A woman with intricate mechanical augmentations along her temples nodded to them from behind the counter, her eyes widening slightly at Lyra's appearance before her professional demeanor reasserted itself. Commander's table is open, she called, gesturing to a secluded alcove partially screened by hanging plants. Once seated, with Novan's jacket still wrapped protectively around her shoulders, Lyra's posture gradually relaxed. You have influence here, she observed, her golden eyes studying him with renewed interest. Novan shrugged, the movement drawing attention to his broad shoulders. 3 tours patrolling this sector builds connections. Nothing special about it. He paused as Esme delivered 2 steaming mugs without being asked. Though I admit the preferential service is a nice perk. The hot beverage, which Lyra discovered was a Celestian herbal blend rather than coffee, warmed her hands as she contemplated her unexpected protector. You intervened without hesitation, she said after a moment. Most humans I've encountered view Celestians with curiosity at best, suspicion at worst. I've worked alongside too many species to harbor those kinds of prejudices, Novan replied, his dark eyes holding her gaze steadily. Besides, those men weren't targeting you because you're Celestian. That kind of predatory behavior transcends species. Lyra's fingers unconsciously found her pendant again, tracing its crystalline edges. Perhaps, though this does make their actions more comprehensible, my pendant contains trade algorithms developed by 15 generations of my family. Its value is a significant. Family. Heirlooms often carry worth beyond currency. Something, in his tone, suggested personal understanding. Their conversation flowed with surprising ease as the artificial lighting of the station dimmed to simulate evening. Lyra spoke of her homeworld, a planet of crystalline forests and violet oceans, while Novan shared stories of his patrols along the Concordance border, carefully omitting classified details. I ship out again in 3 days, he admitted as their second round of drinks arrived. The Concordance Council has concerns about increased raider activity in the Vermilion sector. Lyra nodded, a shadow passing across her features. My trading vessel departs tomorrow. I was meant to secure a diplomatic exchange contract before returning to Celestia. The unspoken realization of their fleeting connection hung between them, until Lyra stiffened suddenly, her attention caught by something over Novan's shoulder. What is it? He asked, instinctively shifting to view the potential threat. Members of my guild? She whispered, nodding toward 3 Celestians who had entered the cafe. Their ceremonial attire, similar to Lyra's but in deep crimson, marked them as senior emissaries. If they see me like this with my garment damaged and in the company of a human military officer, she left the implications unspoken. Without hesitation, Novan reached across the table, his hand covering hers. Follow my lead, he murmured, standing and guiding her toward a service door at the rear of the cafe. Esme, observing the situation with a veteran's awareness, subtly diverted the new arrivals with offers of specialized seating. The door led to a maintenance corridor that wound through the infrastructure of the station. Emergency lighting cast blue shadows across their faces as they navigated the utilitarian space. Where are we going? Lyra asked, surprised to find herself still holding Novan's hand, more surprised that she had no desire to release it. "Somewhere you can rest and find appropriate attire," he answered, his voice echoing slightly in the metal passageway. "Unless you'd prefer to return to your guild members?" Lyra's grip tightened momentarily. "No," she said with a decisiveness that seemed to surprise them both. "I find I'm not ready to conclude our conversation, Commander Reyes." The maintenance corridor opened into a residential section reserved for military personnel. Novan's quarters were Spartan but comfortable, a single room with efficient furnishings and a small viewport offering a spectacular view of the starfield beyond the station. "You can use the refresher," he offered, indicating a door to an adjoining bathroom. "I believe there's a synthesizer program for Celestian clothing patterns." When Lyra emerged sometime later, dressed in a simple but elegant garment of deep blue that complemented her violet skin, she found Novan standing by the viewport, silhouetted against the stars. Something about his stillness, his contained strength, made her heart beat faster. "Thank you," she said, her voice softer than she intended, "for everything." He turned, and the look in his eyes, admiration without objectification, interest without entitlement, sent an unexpected warmth through her body. The distance between them suddenly seemed both vast and infinitesimal. "The night cycle has begun," Novan observed, though neither of them looked at the chronometer. "But I know a place on the station that's worth seeing after dark, if you'd care to continue our tour of Horizon." Lyra stepped closer, returning his jacket with a small smile. "I believe I would, Commander. Very much so." As they left his quarters, neither mentioned the guild members nor their impending departures. Instead, something unspoken passed between them, an agreement to exist fully in this borrowed time, this unexpected sanctuary they had found in each other's company. Deepening connection. The observatory dome occupied the uppermost level of Horizon Station, a massive transparent hemisphere offering unobstructed views of surrounding space. During station day cycle, it served as a navigation and astronomical research facility. During night cycle, it transformed into something magical. "Most visitors never discover this place," Novan said as they emerged from a restricted access elevator. "Too busy with commerce or entertainment in the lower levels." Lyra's breath caught as they stepped into the dome. Overhead, the vast star field glowed with unfiltered brilliance, while beneath their feet, a transparent walkway revealed the sprawling structure of the station below. But what truly captivated her attention were the bioluminescent plants that lined the circular path. Species gathered from a dozen worlds, casting their soft ethereal light in patterns that mirrored the stars above. "It's like walking through twin universes," she whispered, her golden eyes wide with wonder. "The station botanist is an old friend," Novan explained, watching her reaction with evident pleasure. "She's been collecting specimens for decades. Says they help her remember that even in the void, life finds a way to create light." They walked slowly along the path, occasionally stopping to examine a particularly beautiful plant or stellar phenomenon. Their conversation flowed more freely now, moving beyond polite exchanges to deeper waters. "My family opposed my joining the guild," Lyra admitted as they paused before a viewing panel that magnified a distant nebula. 15 generations of tradition, yet they wanted me to pursue scientific research instead. The pendant was my grandmother's final argument. She believed I would honor our legacy while forging new connections. Novan studied her profile, the gentle curves of her face illuminated by starlight. "And have you? Forged new connections?" Her golden eyes met his, a smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "I believe I may have started to, yes." As they continued their circuit of the dome, Novan shared his own history, growing up on a terraforming colony in the Epsilon system, joining the Concordance military against his parents' wishes, the incident that had earned him both his command and the scar that traced a thin line from his temple to his jaw. "The border raiders aren't just pirates," he explained, his voice dropping to ensure privacy despite the empty dome. "Some have military-grade weapons, tactical training. Intelligence suggests they're being supplied by someone within the Concordance." Lyra's expression grew serious. "Similar concerns have reached the Celestian Guild. Certain trading routes have become unprofitable due to increased taxation by these raiders." She hesitated before adding, "There are whispers that the men who accosted me might be connected to this network." "Why target you specifically?" Novan asked, his protective instincts stirring again. Lyra's fingers found her pendant, a now familiar gesture. This contains more than family history, she confessed. The crystalline structure stores quantum encrypted data about all major Celestian trade routes and defensive patterns. In the wrong hands, it could predict the movement of every valuable shipment, Novan finished, understanding dawning, making them easy targets for raiders. They had completed a full circuit of the dome, now standing in its center beneath a circular opening that framed a distant pulsar. Its rhythmic flashing cast alternating patterns of light and shadow across their faces. "I should have reported the incident," Lyra said, her voice tinged with regret. "But dealing with station security would have alerted my guild, and the diplomatic negotiations are too important to delay." Novan stepped closer, his proximity sending a different kind of pulse through her body. "We could report it together, first thing in station morning." "Together," she repeated, testing the word. Her hand reached up, fingers hovering near the scar on his face before gently tracing its path. "You have already done more than duty requires, Commander." "Novan," he corrected softly. "And this stopped being about duty the moment you smiled at me in that cafe." The admission hung between them, honest and unadorned. Lyra's hand remained against his cheek, the warmth of his skin contrasting with her naturally cooler temperature. Neither spoke as the distance between them gradually diminished. Their first kiss was gentle, exploratory, the meeting of two worlds with different atmospheres finding a shared equilibrium. Her lips were softer than he had imagined, carrying a subtle sweetness reminiscent of the Celestian tea they had shared earlier. His arms encircled her waist with careful strength, as though she were made of the same crystal as her pendant. When they separated, Lyra's violet skin had darkened slightly along her cheekbones, the Celestian equivalent of a blush. "That was," she began, "unexpected." Novan suggested, his own breathing slightly uneven. "Illuminating," she corrected, a smile spreading across her face, like discovering a new constellation. The moment shattered with the harsh sound of a station-wide announcement system activating. "Attention all personnel and visitors. Security Protocol Alpha 7 now in effect in Sectors 12 through 15. All non-essential movement is restricted until further notice." Novan's expression shifted instantly to professional alertness. "Sector 15 includes the commercial quarter where we met. Alpha 7 protocol means armed threat." Lyra's hand went to her pendant, eyes widening. "The men who attacked me may have returned with reinforcements," Novan finished grimly. He activated his personal communicator, inputting a security override code. "This is Commander Reyes requesting situation report on Alpha 7 deployment." The response came through immediately, audible to both of them. "Commander, we have reports of an organized theft ring targeting diplomatic visitors. 4 incidents in the past hour. Suspects include individuals matching the description of those you encountered earlier." As the implications settled between them, Novan's hand found Lyra's, their fingers intertwining with newfound familiarity. "It seems our peaceful evening has been cut short," he said, regret evident in his voice. "Perhaps," Lyra replied, her golden eyes reflecting the steady pulse of the distant star, "or perhaps it is merely evolving into something unexpected. After all, I find I do my best. Diplomatic work in unexpected circumstances." Shared smile that passed between them held equal parts determination and dawning affection, a promise that whatever complications the night might bring, they would face them together, this human soldier and Celestian emissary, who had found rare connection amid the chaos of Horizon Spaceport. Danger returns. The central promenade of Horizon Spaceport pulsed with celebratory energy. The annual Concordance Unity Festival, commemorating the peace accords between formerly warring species, had transformed the utilitarian station into a riot of color and sound. Holographic displays depicted historical moments of interspecies cooperation, while performers from a dozen worlds demonstrated their cultural arts. 48 hours had passed since Novan and Lyra's evening at the observatory dome. In that brief time, their connection had deepened through shared meals, quiet conversations, and increasingly passionate encounters. The security alert had been downgraded after station authorities arrested several known associates of the smuggling ring, though the primary suspects remained at large. "Your pendant has attracted unwanted attention," Novan observed as they navigated through the festival crowds. "Perhaps you should consider locking it in a secure facility until your departure." Lyra's fingers instinctively went to the crystalline artifact hanging at her throat. It must remain with a blood-bonded Thelestris at all times, she explained. Ancient protections woven into its structure would interpret separation as theft and lock the encoded data permanently. Novin's protective instinct surged as he surveyed the crowded promenade. His shore leave would end tomorrow, coinciding with Lyra's scheduled departure. The knowledge created an unspoken urgency between them, a desperate savoring of remaining hours. The Celestian Guild is hosting a ceremonial exchange at the Central Pavilion, Lyra said, consulting a holographic invitation hovering above her wrist device. As an accredited emissary, my presence is mandatory. She hesitated before adding, non-Celestian guests are permitted if accompanied by a guild member. The invitation in her voice was unmistakable. Novin smiled, a warm expression that had become increasingly familiar to her. I'd be honored to attend, he replied, though I should warn you that my knowledge of Celestian diplomatic protocols is somewhat limited. Simply follow my lead, and avoid mentioning the crystalline controversies of the Third Era, Lyra advised with playful solemnity, her golden eyes sparkling. Everything else is negotiable. The Central Pavilion had been transformed for the occasion. Crystalline structures reminiscent of Celestian architecture created a temporary environment that evoked the violet forests of their homeworld. Senior guild members, resplendent in formal attire of deep crimson and gold, conducted elaborate greeting rituals with representatives from various trading factions. Lyra introduced Novin to her mentor, Elder Sephirin Thelestris, a distant relative whose ancient age was evident in the deep indigo hue of his skin. The elder's evaluating gaze lingered on their proximity to each other, though his formal greeting betrayed no judgment. Your negotiations with the Concordance Mining Consortium have been scheduled for the final ceremony, Elder Sephirin informed Lyra. The terms are favorable, thanks largely to your preliminary work. His attention shifted to Novin. Commander Reyes, I understand you intervened during an unfortunate incident involving our emissary. Any decent person would have done the same, Novin replied diplomatically. Perhaps, the elder said, his tone revealing nothing, though decency seems increasingly rare in certain quarters of the station. With a formal bow, he moved to greet other arrivals, leaving them alone in the growing crowd. He seems intense, Novin observed quietly. Lyra's expression was thoughtful. He has served the guild for nearly 2 centuries. His caution is well earned. She straightened suddenly. I'm required to participate in the opening ritual. The ceremonial exchange cannot begin otherwise. I'll wait here, Novin assured her, watching as she moved gracefully toward the central dais where other Celestians were gathering. The ritual began with harmonized vocalizations that resonated perfectly with the crystalline structures surrounding them. As designated keeper of records for the delegation, Lyra's pendant played a central role, its internal light pulsing in rhythm with the ceremonial tones. Novin's military training kept him alert despite the mesmerizing display. He noticed the subtle movement first, 3 individuals entering from separate access points, their movements too coordinated to be coincidental. With growing alarm, he recognized the leader as the man who had torn Lyra's dress during their first encounter. Before he could react, the pavilion's lighting system faltered, plunging the ceremonial space into momentary darkness. The disruption lasted only seconds, but when illumination returned, chaos erupted. Lyra was gone. So was Elder Sephirin. Novin's communicator activated immediately. Commander Reyes, came a station security officer's voice. We have a breach in Diplomatic Zone Alpha. Witnesses report a Celestian emissary was forcibly removed during the power disruption. Without hesitation, Novin pushed through the confused crowd toward the nearest exit. Lock down all docking bays, he ordered, military authority overriding protocol. I need a full tactical team at my coordinates immediately. The response came not from station security but from an unexpected source. That won't be necessary, Commander. Elder Sephirin emerged from a side corridor, his ancient eyes hard as polished stone. The guild handles its own matters. With respect, Elder Lyra is in danger, Novin countered, assessing whether the elder himself might be involved in the abduction. Emissary. Thelestris was taken by Trevin Moros, a known smuggler with connections to the raider networks operating in the Vermilion sector, Sephirin stated with cold precision. He desires the pendant, not the emissary. You knew this would happen, Novin realized, anger building within him. You used her as bait. The Elder's expression remained impassive. The Guild has suspected a conspiracy between certain human factions and the Raiders for some time. Emissary Thalestris was informed of the risk when she accepted this assignment. Novin's fists clenched at his sides. Where have they taken her? Our intelligence suggests they maintain a processing facility in the abandoned manufacturing sector, Sephirin replied. Lower level, Section 47B. A Guild security team is already en route. I'm going now, Novin stated, his tone leaving no room for argument. Your Guild politics are irrelevant to me. Lyra's safety is all that matters. Something shifted in the Elder's ancient eyes, a brief flicker of emotion breaking through his formal demeanor. She spoke truly of you, he said quietly. Take this. He pressed a small crystalline device into Novin's hand. It will deactivate the pendant's security protocols temporarily. Without it, they cannot access the data, but they may harm her in their frustration. Novin nodded once before sprinting toward the nearest transit hub. The abandoned manufacturing sector lay at Horizon's core, a labyrinthine complex of decommissioned factories and warehouses that station authorities had never fully secured. Criminal elements had established numerous operations in this shadowy underworld, protected by bribed officials and the sector's dangerous reputation. Using his military override codes, Novin commandeered a maintenance vehicle and descended into the station's depths. Each passing moment increased his fear for Lyra's safety, yet he forced himself to proceed with tactical caution. Rushing blindly into an enemy stronghold would help no one. Section 47B appeared deserted at first glance, a cavernous space filled with obsolete machinery and the skeletal remains of assembly lines. Motion sensors detected no movement, yet Novan's instincts told him otherwise. Years of border patrol had honed his ability to sense hidden threats, a faint sound, barely perceptible, above the ambient hum of the station's infrastructure, drew his attention to a sealed door partially concealed behind a massive hydraulic press. The control panel had been modified with an illegal bypass system, confirming his suspicions. Drawing his sidearm, carried despite his off-duty status, Novin approached the door with measured steps. The familiar clarity of combat focus descended upon him, sharpening his senses and steadying his nerves. Beyond this door was Lyra, and nothing would prevent him from reaching her. The security bypass yielded to his military override, the door sliding open with a pneumatic hiss. Beyond lay a converted storage area now serving as a makeshift interrogation space, and there was Lyra, secured to a chair by energy restraints, her violet skin bearing evidence of rough handling. Her ceremonial attire was torn once again, but her expression remained defiant as she faced her captors. The pendant is genetically locked, she was saying, as Novin silently entered. Without a Thalestris bloodline, it's nothing but decorative crystal. Trevin Moros, now dressed in the uniform of a minor concordance official, paced before her with growing frustration. Our sources confirmed it contains access codes to every major Celestian shipping route. Those codes are worth millions to the right buyers. Your sources were mistaken, Lyra replied, her golden eyes flashing with contempt. As you will be when my guild discovers your identity as the Raiders' supplier. The guild won't find anything. Trevin snarled, leaning close to her face. By the time they mobilize their precious security force, we'll be gone. And so will you. Sold to collectors who appreciate exotic specimens. I believe you're mistaken on all counts, Novan announced, stepping fully into the room, weapon raised, starting with your assumption that she came alone. The ensuing firefight was brief but intense. Trevin and his two associates were experienced criminals, but they lacked the combat training of a concordance commander. Novin's precision fire disabled two opponents immediately, while the third, Trevin himself, attempted to use Lyra as a shield. Stand down. Commander, he ordered, pressing a blade against Lyra's throat. This isn't concordance business. You're right, Novin agreed, his weapon steady despite the rage building within him. This is personal. What happened next occurred with such speed that even Lyra couldn't fully track the sequence. Novin feigned compliance, lowering his weapon slightly, just enough to draw Trevin's attention. In that fractional moment of distraction, Lyra activated her pendant through sheer force of will. The crystalline artifact flared with blinding light, causing Trevin to flinch reflexively. It was all the opening Novan needed. A single precise shot disabled Treven's weapon arm, sending him crashing to the floor with a howl of pain. Moments later, Lyra was free, the energy restraints deactivated by the crystalline device Elder Sephirin had provided. Without hesitation, she moved to Novan's side, her composure remarkable despite her ordeal. "You found me," she said simply, her golden eyes meeting his with unspoken emotion. "Always," he replied, the single word containing a promise that transcended their brief acquaintance. As station security forces finally arrived, alongside the Celestian Guild's own operatives, Novan kept Lyra close, his arm protectively around her shoulders. The coming hours would bring debriefings, medical examinations, and diplomatic complications. But in this moment, reunited against the odds, they shared something precious and increasingly rare in the vast expanse of the Concordance: absolute trust. Resolution and New Beginnings' dawn cycle brought a different quality of light to Horizon Spaceport, a gentle illumination that seemed to cleanse the shadows of the previous night's violence. In the secure medical facility of the diplomatic quarter, Lyra sat on the edge of an examination table, her injuries treated and her torn ceremonial attire replaced with a simple healing garment of soft blue. The door slid open to admit Novan, who had spent the intervening hours coordinating with station security to ensure that every member of the smuggling operation was identified and apprehended. Fatigue lined his face, yet his eyes brightened visibly upon seeing her. "The station commander has officially charged Treven and his associates with attempted kidnapping, assault on a diplomatic envoy, and conspiracy to commit interstellar piracy," he reported, crossing to her side. "More significantly, they've agreed to cooperate in exchange for leniency. Their testimony has already led to the arrest of 3 high-ranking Concordance officials who were facilitating the raider network." Lyra nodded, absorbing the information with diplomatic poise. "Elder Sephirin informed me that the Guild Council is satisfied with the outcome, though they question his decision to involve a human officer in what they consider internal matters." "And what did you tell them?" Novan asked, standing close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from his body. "That without your intervention, both the pendant and I would likely be lost," she replied, her golden eyes holding his gaze steadily, "and that perhaps it is time for the Guild to reconsider certain traditional views regarding cooperation with other species." A comfortable silence settled between them, filled with unspoken acknowledgments of their shared experiences and the connection that had formed so quickly yet felt so fundamental. Outside the medical facility's viewport, preparation for departures continued unabated, a reminder of the imminent separation they both faced. "My ship leaves in 3 hours, Novan said finally, his voice carrying a weight of regret. "Border Patrol can't wait, especially with what we've learned about the raider network." Lyra's hand found his, their fingers intertwining with familiar ease. "The Celestian vessel departs even sooner. The Guild Council has requested my immediate return to present a full report on the incident." The unspoken question hung between them. What now? 2 beings from different worlds with different duties and obligations, yet bound by something neither had anticipated. "There is perhaps a solution," came a voice from the doorway. Elder Sephirin entered with formal dignity, though his ancient eyes held an unexpected warmth when they rested on the joined hands of the human and Celestian. "If you are willing to consider it." Novan straightened respectfully but did not release Lyra's hand. "I'm listening." "The recent events have exposed vulnerabilities in both Concordance and Celestian security protocols," the Elder began. "Our Council proposes the establishment of a joint task force to address these concerns. Specifically, a diplomatic security detail combining military expertise with cultural understanding." Lyra's expression shifted to one of cautious hope. "Such a collaboration would be unprecedented." "Indeed," Sephirin agreed, "which is why it requires exceptional individuals to pioneer the effort." He turned his attention fully to Novan. "Commander Reyes, your actions have demonstrated both tactical skill and cultural sensitivity. The Guild formally requests your secondment to this joint initiative, pending Concordance approval." Novan's professional demeanor couldn't entirely mask his surprise, or the spark of possibility that ignited within him. "My commanding officer would need to be consulted," he said carefully, "though I believe she would recognize the strategic advantages of such cooperation." The request has already been submitted through official channels. Sephirin informed them with the barest suggestion of smugness. Preliminary response indicates approval, provided you are willing to accept the assignment. Lyra's grip tightened almost imperceptibly, though her expression remained diplomatically neutral. And my role in this initiative? You would continue as guild emissary, the elder replied, with expanded authority to negotiate security protocols alongside our new concordance liaison. His ancient eyes crinkled slightly at the corners, the Celestian equivalent of a knowing smile. The Council believes your demonstrated ability to work effectively with humans makes you uniquely qualified. The implications settled between them. A sanctioned reason to remain together, to build upon the connection they had forged in crisis. Not a permanent solution perhaps, but a beginning rather than an ending. I would be honored to accept such an appointment, Novin said formally, though the light in his eyes spoke of more personal considerations. As would I, Lyra added, her violet skin darkening slightly along her cheekbones. Elder Sephirin nodded with satisfaction. Then it is settled. The necessary arrangements will be completed before mid-cycle. With a formal bow that acknowledged both of them equally, he departed, leaving them alone once more. For a moment, neither spoke, absorbing the unexpected reprieve from their impending separation. Then Lyra's composure finally broke, a genuine smile illuminating her face with radiant joy. It seems the universe has interesting plans for us. Commander Reyes, she said, rising from the examination table to stand before him. Novin, he corrected gently, his hands coming to rest at her waist. I believe diplomatic relations function best on a first-name basis. Indeed they do, she agreed, her golden eyes sparkling with emotion as she moved closer. Though I suspect our particular diplomatic approach might raise eyebrows in certain traditional circles, his answering smile held equal parts tenderness and mischief. Let them raise eyebrows. We're pioneers now, after all. Their kiss contained all the intensity of their shared ordeal and the promise of possibilities to come. A union of different worlds finding harmony, despite the vast differences between them. When they finally separated, Lyra rested her forehead against his chest, listening to the steady rhythm of his human heart. What happens now? She asked softly. Novin's arms tightened around her, protective yet respectful of her strength. Now we build something new, he replied. Together. Epilogue. 6 months later, the Interspecies Security Initiative had established operations in 3 major spaceports. Reports of raider activity had decreased by 70% in the sectors under their jurisdiction, while diplomatic relations between Celestians and humans had improved dramatically. The observation deck of their new headquarters vessel, a sleek ship combining Celestian crystalline technology with concordance military systems, Lyra and Novin stood side by side, watching the stars drift past. Her pendant, now complemented by a matching crystalline band on his wrist, glowed softly in the dimmed lighting. The Council has approved our proposal for expanded operations in the Vermilion sector, Lyra said, professional satisfaction evident in her voice. And your former commanding officer has allocated additional personnel to support the initiative. Good news, Novin agreed, though his attention seemed focused more on the violet-skinned woman beside him than on administrative victories. Lyra noticed his distraction, a smile playing at the corners of her mouth. You're not listening to my report, Commander. I'm multitasking, he defended, drawing her closer with practiced ease. Appreciating diplomatic progress while simultaneously appreciating the diplomat. Her laughter, a sound that had become increasingly frequent, filled the observation deck. A skill that serves you well in your new position. Speaking of positions, Novin continued, his expression growing more serious. There's something I've been meaning to discuss with you.